"Ma'am, step away from your vehicle." The voice echoed across the small gas station just as the fuel pump clicked to a stop. A teenager carrying an energy drink froze beside the convenience store door. A truck driver halfway through filling his diesel tank looked over. Even the woman paying for lottery tickets inside glanced toward the front windows. Within seconds, every pair of eyes had settled on the same person. Monica Hayes slowly removed the fuel nozzle from her silver Honda Accord. She turned, keeping both hands where they could be seen. "Are you talking to me, officer?" Officer Ethan Brooks approached with calm, measured steps. Late 30s. Crisply pressed navy uniform. Body camera already recording. One hand rested lightly near his duty belt, not threatening, just cautious. "Yes, ma'am. I need you to step away from the vehicle." Monica did exactly as he asked. No hesitation. No argument. She closed the fuel door, set the nozzle back into the pump, and took 2 slow steps backward. The July heat settled heavily over the station. Cicadas buzzed somewhere beyond the highway. The smell of gasoline mixed with fresh coffee drifting through the open convenience store entrance. Monica had stopped for one simple reason. She had less than 45 minutes before beginning another 12-hour overnight shift at Grayson Memorial Hospital. She wanted a full tank before another exhausting week. Instead, she found herself standing beneath pump 4 with a police officer studying her as though she already belonged inside his report. Officer Brooks glanced briefly toward the screen mounted inside his patrol cruiser. Dispatch still displayed the same bulletin. Suspect, black female. Silver sedan. Blue medical clothing. Used stolen credit card at nearby fuel station. He looked back at Monica. Every visible detail matched. Coincidences happened. But ignoring them wasn't part of his job. "May I see your driver's license?" "Of course." Monica reached slowly into her athletic shoulder bag. She removed a leather wallet. Then handed him her license before he needed to ask again. He examined it carefully. "Monica Hayes." "Yes, sir." "Current address?" She answered. Without pause. He compared it to the license. Everything matched. Still, procedure wasn't finished. "I'll also need to verify your payment." "No problem." She handed him the debit card she just used at the pump. The receipt still protruded from the payment terminal. The cashier stepped outside. "Officer?" Brooks nodded politely. "Routine investigation." The cashier looked at Monica. Then back at the officer. Without meaning to, his expression changed. Not fear. Curiosity. The kind that quietly attracts everyone nearby. Within another minute, 3 more customers had slowed down to watch. No one said anything. Not yet. Monica stood quietly beneath the afternoon sun. She crossed neither her arms nor her legs. She understood exactly how quickly ordinary situations could become complicated. Working in an emergency room had taught her one lesson above all others. People usually listened better when someone stayed calm. Brooks handed back her driver's license. "I'm also going to ask you to open your bag." She gave a small nod. "Go ahead." She unzipped it completely. Inside sat neatly folded hospital scrubs. A stethoscope. A paperback novel with a folded page marking Chapter 6. Protein bars. Hand sanitizer. An insulated lunch container. Nothing unusual. Nothing remotely suspicious. Still. Brooks looked through everything carefully. Behind them, someone chuckled. A middle-aged man wearing mirrored sunglasses leaned against his pickup truck. "Guess they finally caught somebody." A younger customer laughed quietly beside him. Monica heard both remarks. She showed no reaction. Brooks noticed. Most innocent people eventually became irritated. Some argued. Others demanded supervisors. Monica did neither. She simply answered every question. One after another. Dispatch crackled over Ethan's shoulder radio. No confirmation yet. Continue field contact. He acknowledged the message. Then looked back toward Monica. What brings you through this area today? I'm headed to work. Where? Grayson Memorial. What do you do there? She pointed toward the identification badge clipped beneath her lightweight navy athletic jacket. I'm an emergency room nurse. The man in sunglasses smirked. Convenient. Monica turned toward him. Her voice stayed gentle. I don't need strangers to believe me. I only need the truth. The parking lot grew strangely quiet. Even the man looked away. Officer Brooks studied her again. She wasn't acting like someone trying to escape responsibility. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't rehearsed. She simply appeared, tired. Like someone preparing for another long night helping people she had never met. For just a second, he wondered if dispatch had gotten the description wrong. Then his radio spoke again. No update. He pushed the thought aside. Procedure first. Questions later. Would you mind waiting a little longer? Monica smiled politely. I've been waiting my whole career. The answer caught him off guard. What do you mean? She looked toward the highway. Emergency rooms teach patience. People don't arrive when it's convenient. They arrive when they need someone. Before Brooks could respond, Monica's expression changed. Not dramatically. Just enough for years of medical training to surface behind her eyes. She stopped looking at him. Instead, she stared across the parking lot. About 40 feet away, a white SUV had quietly pulled beside the air pump. The engine remained running. No one stepped out. A pregnant woman sat behind the steering wheel. Her forehead rested against it. Then slowly lifted. One hand gripped the wheel. The other pressed firmly against the lower part of her stomach. She reached toward the driver's door. Stopped halfway. Closed her eyes. And leaned forward again. Monica narrowed her gaze. Years spent inside crowded trauma rooms had taught her to recognize distress before panic ever appeared. Rapid breathing. Protective posture. Shallow movements. Something wasn't right. Officer. Brooks was writing another note. One moment. She continued watching the SUV. The woman tried opening the door again. This time, her phone slipped from her hand and disappeared beneath the driver's seat. She stared at it. But made no effort to retrieve it. Monica quietly took one step toward the vehicle. Not enough to leave. Just enough to see more clearly. The afternoon. Breeze carried a faint sound across the parking lot. A soft cry. Barely louder than a whisper. Most people wouldn't have noticed it. Monica did. She turned back toward Officer Brooks. Her voice remained calm. But there was unmistakable urgency behind it. Officer. I don't think I'm the person who needs your attention anymore. Officer Ethan Brooks looked up from his notebook. What do you mean? Monica didn't answer right away. Her attention never left the white SUV parked near the air pump. The pregnant woman inside had barely moved. Her hand still gripped the steering wheel. Her breathing had become noticeably shorter. Even from 40 feet away. Monica recognized the pattern. Not panic. Pain. She pointed quietly. The woman in the SUV. I think she needs help. Ethan glanced in the direction Monica indicated. He saw a woman sitting behind the wheel. Nothing more. No collision. No shouting. No obvious emergency. He looked back at Monica. Let's finish here first. Monica remained calm. I'm serious. So am I. His voice wasn't hostile. It was simply firm. He still had an active investigation to complete. Dispatch had not yet cleared Monica. Walking away now would mean abandoning the stop before confirming whether she was involved. He couldn't do that. Not yet. The cashier stepped outside carrying a fresh pot of coffee. He followed Monica's gaze. Somebody sick? Ethan answered before Monica could. We don't know. The cashier shrugged. Looks like she's just resting. A man filling his pickup truck laughed. Nice try. Everyone turned toward him. He took another sip from his soda. If I were being questioned, I'd probably point somewhere else too. A couple standing beside another pump smiled awkwardly. Nobody challenged him. Nobody walked toward the SUV. Monica slowly exhaled. Years in emergency medicine had taught her something few people understood. Medical emergencies rarely announced themselves loudly. Sometimes, the quietest patient was the one in the greatest danger. She looked back toward Ethan. I'm not trying to leave. I'm trying to help. He met her eyes. I understand what you're saying. But I still need to finish this. Monica nodded once. Then looked back toward the SUV. The woman finally managed to push the driver's door open. One foot reached the pavement. She tried standing. Immediately, her knees weakened. She grabbed the top of the door for support. Her head lowered. Her shoulders tightened. She stayed frozen in place. Monica's expression changed. Not with fear. With certainty. She had seen this exact posture countless times. Women arriving at the emergency department in active labor often tried convincing themselves they still had time. Many didn't. Officer. This isn't normal. Ethan watched the woman for another second. She still hadn't fallen. She wasn't calling for help. She wasn't waving at anyone. Nothing about the situation clearly demanded immediate intervention. He turned back. Ma'am. Please remain where you are. Monica didn't argue. Instead, she asked one simple question. Do you have children? The question caught him completely off guard. He blinked. A daughter. She's 6. Monica nodded gently. Then you've probably seen your wife in labor. His expression softened slightly. Yes. Did she look comfortable? He didn't answer. Because he already knew the answer. No. Monica continued quietly. That woman is protecting her lower abdomen. She's breathing through pain. She's trying to stand. But she can't. She pointed again. And she just dropped her phone. Ethan looked once more. Almost on cue, the woman leaned forward against the open driver's door. One hand pressed firmly against her stomach. The other reached toward the driver's seat before stopping halfway. She closed her eyes. Then, a faint sound drifted across the parking lot. A low cry. Barely audible above passing traffic. The cashier frowned. I think I heard something. A young mother walking toward the convenience store slowed her pace. So did I. The gas station suddenly felt different. People stopped talking. Even the man who had mocked Monica lowered his drink. Everyone was watching now. Still, no one moved. Monica spoke softly. I'm an ER nurse. I've delivered babies before. I don't need to examine her to know she's in trouble. Ethan hesitated. For the first time. That afternoon, uncertainty replaced confidence. His radio interrupted the silence. Dispatch to Unit 12. No additional confirmation yet. Continue your investigation. He pressed the transmit button. Copy. His duty remained exactly the same. Finish the stop. Verify the suspect. Wait for confirmation. Everything about his training pointed in one direction. Yet his instincts had begun pulling another. Monica quietly removed her shoulder bag. She placed it on the hood of her silver sedan. Then her wallet. Her phone. Her car keys. Her hospital ID badge. Everything she owned remained in plain sight. She stepped back. I'm leaving all of it here. Ethan frowned. What are you doing? So you'll know I'm coming back. His expression tightened. Ms. Hayes. She looked directly at him. I'm not running away. I'm running toward someone. The sentence hung in the warm afternoon air. Nobody spoke. The pregnant woman suddenly cried out. This time, everyone heard it. She bent forward sharply. One hand clutched the roof of the SUV. The other wrapped protectively around her stomach. A dark wet stain slowly appeared across the front of her light gray maternity dress. Monica immediately recognized it. Her water had broken. She looked back at Ethan. There was no panic in her voice. Only absolute certainty. Officer. That baby's coming. The words changed everything. Several customers instinctively turned toward the SUV. The cashier took one step forward. So what do we do? Monica answered without taking her eyes off the woman. Call 911. Tell them she's in active labor. The cashier reached for his phone. Ethan instinctively raised a hand. Wait. For one brief moment, both responsibilities collided inside his mind. One woman matched the suspect description. The other desperately needed help. He had only seconds to choose. The pregnant woman cried out again. Louder than before. Her voice cracked with pain. Monica looked at Ethan one final time. I can stand here proving who I am. Or I can go save someone who doesn't have time to wait. Without another word, she turned and hurried toward the white SUV. For the first time since arriving at the gas station, Officer Ethan Brooks didn't think about the stolen credit card. He watched the woman he had treated like a suspect run toward a complete stranger, without knowing whether anyone would ever thank her for it. Someone call 911. Monica's voice carried across the gas station with calm authority. There was no panic in it. No desperation. Just the unmistakable confidence of someone who had spent years standing between fear and hope. She reached the white SUV just as the pregnant woman let out another painful breath. I'm here. My name is Monica. I'm an ER nurse. The woman looked up through tears. I don't think I can move. You don't have to. Monica gently placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Just keep looking at me. We'll do this one step at a time. The woman's breathing was shallow. Fast. Her face had lost nearly all its color. Sweat clung to her forehead despite the warm afternoon breeze. My name's Rachel. My husband. He's stuck on the interstate. He keeps saying he's almost here. Her voice broke. I'm scared. Monica smiled softly. I know. But you're not alone anymore. She quickly glanced inside the vehicle. No passengers. No family. A diaper bag rested on the back seat. An infant car seat had already been installed. Everything suggested Rachel had expected plenty of time. Life had decided otherwise. Another contraction hit. Rachel squeezed the steering wheel so tightly her hands trembled. Monica counted silently. The contraction lasted nearly a full minute. Too long. Too close to the previous one. She already knew what that meant. The baby wasn't waiting for anyone. Officer Ethan Brooks hurried over. What do you need? It was the first time that afternoon he asked Monica for instructions. She answered immediately. I need space around the vehicle. Then pointed toward the growing crowd. Keep everyone back. He nodded without hesitation. You heard her. Everyone, please step behind the fuel pumps. Nobody argued. Not even the man who had mocked Monica earlier. The cashier ran out carrying clean towels. I grabbed everything we had. Perfect. Monica accepted them with a grateful smile. Another customer handed her bottled water. A woman offered a lightweight blanket from her own car. Without anyone giving orders, complete strangers began helping one another. Ethan noticed it too. Only minutes earlier, these same people had gathered out of curiosity. Now, they were working together because one person had chosen compassion over humiliation. Monica turned back to Rachel. I need you to answer a few questions. Rachel nodded weakly. How many weeks? 39. Any complications during the pregnancy? No. First baby? Rachel nodded. Yes. Monica smiled reassuringly. Okay. We're going to get through this together. She reached for Rachel's wrist. Her pulse was fast. Expected. Her breathing remained controlled enough to follow instructions. Good. Very good. Ethan lifted his radio. Dispatch. What's our ETA on EMS? The answer came immediately. 7 minutes. Monica quietly shook her head. They're not going to make it. Ethan looked at her. You sure? She met his eyes. I've delivered babies before. This one isn't waiting 7 minutes. The seriousness in her voice erased every remaining doubt. He keyed the radio again. Advise EMS we're likely delivering before arrival. Copy. Rachel suddenly grabbed Monica's arm. I feel pressure. A lot of pressure. Monica nodded calmly. I know. That's normal. Listen to my voice. Nothing else. Rachel focused entirely on Monica. The sounds of traffic. The whispers from the crowd. Even Ethan's radio faded into the background. All she heard was Monica. Breathe in. Rachel inhaled. Slowly out. She exhaled. Again. Again. Each breath steadied her fear. Monica glanced down. Then immediately looked back at Rachel. The baby's almost here. Rachel's eyes widened. No. I can't. Monica leaned closer. You're already doing it. You've been doing it all day. I'm just here to help. A tear rolled down Rachel's cheek. Please don't leave. I won't. The promise came without hesitation. Not because Monica knew everything would be easy. Because she had already decided she wasn't going anywhere. Another contraction began. Stronger than all the others. Rachel cried out. Monica remained perfectly composed. Okay. When I tell you, I need you to push. Rachel nodded through tears. The cashier quietly stood beside Ethan. I've never seen anything like this. Ethan answered without taking his eyes off Monica. Neither have I. He realized something that made his stomach tighten. For almost 15 minutes, he had treated the most qualified person at the entire gas station like a suspect. Now, everyone was looking to her for guidance. Monica looked toward Ethan. I need one more towel. He grabbed it before she finished the sentence. Here. Our ambulance. Less than 3 minutes. She nodded. Good. If they're lucky. They'll arrive after the hard part. Rachel squeezed Monica's hand. I'm scared for my baby. Monica smiled again. So am I. Rachel looked surprised. You are. Monica nodded honestly. Every nurse worries. The difference is, we don't let fear make the decisions. Those words settled over everyone nearby. Even Ethan felt them. They weren't just about childbirth. They were about character. Another contraction surged. Monica looked into Rachel's eyes. This is it. I need you to push. Rachel gathered every ounce of strength she had left. She pushed. Then stopped to catch her breath. Monica encouraged her. You're doing beautifully. One more. Rachel cried out again. The parking lot fell completely silent. No phones. No conversations. No engines. Only the sound of one mother fighting to bring her child safely into the world. Then, a tiny cry broke through the silence. Soft. Fragile. Beautiful. For a moment, no one moved. Rachel stared in disbelief. Is my baby okay? Monica carefully wrapped the newborn in one of the clean towels before gently lifting the tiny infant into view. A wide smile spread across her face. She's perfect. Rachel burst into tears. Oh, thank God. Monica placed the baby carefully against her mother's chest. The little girl immediately settled as if she already recognized the heartbeat she'd been listening to for months. At that exact moment, the ambulance turned into the gas station. Paramedics rushed toward the SUV carrying medical equipment. The lead paramedic stopped halfway. When he saw Monica calmly supporting Rachel with the newborn already safely in her arms. He looked at Monica. Then at the healthy baby. Then smiled with genuine admiration. I guess you saved us some work. Monica laughed softly. I left you the easy part. The paramedic chuckled. I wouldn't go that far. As the medical team began checking both mother and daughter. Officer Ethan Brooks remained standing a few feet away. He wasn't looking at the ambulance. He wasn't looking at the crowd. He was looking at Monica. Only 20 minutes earlier, he had seen a woman who matched a suspect description. Now, he saw someone who had transformed a frightened parking lot into the safest place a newborn could have entered the world. And for the first time that afternoon, he realized the biggest mistake he had made wasn't stopping the wrong person. It was almost failing to recognize the right one. The ambulance doors closed with a solid thud. Red and blue lights reflected across the gas station windows before disappearing onto the highway. For the first time in nearly half an hour, everything became quiet. No one hurried back to their cars. The fuel pump stood untouched. Coffee cups cooled in customers' hands. People simply stood there, trying to process what they had just witnessed. A baby had entered the world. Not inside a hospital. Not inside an ambulance. But beside pump 4, because one stranger refused to ignore another. Monica slowly removed a pair of disposable gloves that one of the paramedics had handed her moments earlier. Her scrub sleeves were wrinkled. A few loose curls had escaped her ponytail. She looked exhausted. Exactly the way she often looked after helping a patient. Nothing about her posture suggested she believed she had done anything extraordinary. The cashier walked over carrying a cold bottle of water. I figured you could use this. Monica smiled warmly. I definitely can. Thank you. You saved 2 lives. She gently shook her head. I did my job. The cashier laughed softly. You weren't even on the clock. Monica looked toward the highway where the ambulance had disappeared. People don't stop needing help because my shift hasn't started. Those words stayed with everyone who heard them. Especially Officer Ethan Brooks. He stood beside his patrol cruiser without speaking. His notebook remained open on the hood. The first line still read, possible credit card fraud suspect. He stared at the words. Then slowly closed the notebook. They no longer belonged to the woman standing across the parking lot. His shoulder radio crackled. Unit 12. He answered immediately. Go ahead. Dispatch responded. The suspect using the stolen credit card has been taken into custody. Ethan listened without moving. Female. Silver crossover. Arrest made at a fuel station approximately 6 miles east. Security cameras confirm your subject, Monica Hayes, had no involvement. The words landed harder than he expected. He looked across the parking lot. Monica was thanking another customer who had helped carry towels back inside the convenience store. She wasn't angry. She wasn't demanding an explanation. She wasn't even looking at him. Dispatch continued. You can clear the stop. Ethan answered quietly. Copy. For several long seconds, he simply stood there. He replayed the afternoon from the beginning. The dispatch description. The questions. The crowd gathering. The jokes. Monica answering every request without complaint. Then, warning him. Once. Twice. 3 times. Each time, he believed procedure mattered more than her judgment. If she had decided to prove a point instead of helping Rachel, today might have ended very differently. He finally walked toward her. Not with the confidence of an officer conducting an investigation, but with the humility of someone carrying the weight of a mistake. He stopped a few feet away. Ms. Hayes. Monica turned. Yes, officer. He removed his patrol cap. Something he rarely did while on duty. I owe you an apology. She waited, giving him room to finish. I judged you before I knew you. I relied on a description, instead of paying attention to the person standing in front of me. He looked briefly toward the empty parking space where Rachel's SUV had been. You tried to tell me someone needed help. I thought you were trying to distract me. He paused. I was wrong. Monica remained silent for a moment. The afternoon breeze moved gently through the station. Finally she spoke. You weren't wrong to investigate. His eyes lifted. She continued. You were wrong to stop listening. The sentence hit him harder than any disciplinary report ever could. Because it was true. He nodded slowly. I did. And I almost let that mistake hurt someone who had nothing to do with my investigation. Monica gave a small, understanding smile. We all miss things. The important part is what we do after we notice. Before Ethan could respond, the man wearing mirrored sunglasses slowly approached. The same man who had laughed earlier. He held his baseball cap in both hands now. No smile. No sarcasm. I owe you an apology too. Monica recognized him immediately. You don't have to. I do. He glanced toward the road. I made up my mind about you before you ever opened your mouth. His voice grew quieter. I figured the officer already knew who you were. Monica answered gently. He didn't. The man looked confused. What do you mean? He only knew a description. He didn't know me. The word settled over the small crowd that still remained. Several customers exchanged embarrassed looks. Because they realized something. Most of them had made exactly the same mistake. The cashier sighed. I guess we all did. Monica smiled kindly. Then today wasn't just about a baby. It was about paying attention. Just then, a black SUV pulled into the station. Deputy Police Chief Linda Mercer stepped out. She had already spoken with dispatch. She had reviewed the first body camera clip sent from Ethan's patrol unit. After speaking briefly with him, she walked directly toward Monica. Ms. Hayes. My name is Linda Mercer. She extended her hand. I'm the deputy chief. Monica shook it politely. The deputy chief smiled. I came because I wanted to thank you personally. And to apologize. She didn't offer excuses. She didn't defend department policy. She simply accepted responsibility. You were treated as a suspect, when you should have been recognized as the medical professional you are. Monica answered quietly. I understand why Officer Brooks stopped me. He had a description. The deputy chief nodded. But once you pointed out the emergency, we should have listened sooner. Ethan lowered his eyes. He appreciated that she hadn't tried to protect the department at the expense of the truth. Instead, she acknowledged both. Procedure mattered. So did judgment. Before leaving, the deputy chief turned to Ethan. I want your full report. Exactly as it happened. No shortcuts. He nodded. Yes, ma'am. I've already decided to include every mistake I made. She studied him for a moment. Then gave a single nod. Good. That's where accountability begins. As the crowd slowly dispersed, the cashier quietly taped a handwritten sign beside the coffee machine. Today, coffee is free for every nurse. Monica laughed. You really don't have to do that. The cashier smiled. I know. I just want to. She picked up her shoulder bag. Checked the time. She was almost an hour late for work. Normally, that would have bothered her. Today, it didn't. Because somewhere down the highway, a frightened young mother was holding her healthy newborn daughter. And that mattered more than any schedule. As Monica opened the driver's door of her silver sedan, Officer Ethan Brooks looked down at the first page of his notebook one last time. He drew a single line through the words, possible fraud suspect. Then underneath them, he wrote something entirely different. Never let a description become more important than a human being. He closed the notebook, knowing he would carry that lesson far longer than he would ever carry the report. 3 weeks later, the emergency department at Grayson Memorial Hospital was just as busy as it had always been. Stretchers rolled through automatic doors. Heart monitors beeped steadily. Doctors hurried between patient rooms. Nurses moved with quiet confidence from one emergency to the next. For Monica Hayes, life had returned to normal. Or at least, as normal as life inside an emergency room could ever be. She had already started 2 IVs. Comforted a frightened little boy with a broken arm. Helped an elderly patient call his wife before surgery. The afternoon at the gas station had slowly faded into memory. To Monica, it had never been about recognition. Someone needed help. She helped. That was enough. Monica? She turned as her charge nurse stepped into the hallway. You have visitors. I do. They insisted on waiting. Monica removed her gloves and walked toward the hospital lobby. The moment the elevator doors opened, she recognized them. Rachel Collins stood near the reception desk. Healthy. Smiling. Beside her was her husband, David. In his arms, slept a tiny baby wrapped in a pale pink blanket. Rachel's face brightened. There she is. Monica laughed softly. I was wondering when I'd finally meet her. David carefully placed the baby into Monica's arms. Her name is Hope Collins. Monica looked down at the sleeping infant. Only 3 weeks earlier, Hope had entered the world beneath the roof of a neighborhood gas station. Now she slept peacefully, unaware that dozens of strangers would remember the day she was born for years to come. Rachel smiled through moist eyes. We gave her the middle name Grace. Monica looked up. You did? Rachel nodded. Because that's exactly what you gave us. Grace. When we thought everything was falling apart. Monica gently touched the baby's tiny fingers. You gave her life. Rachel quietly shook her head. No. You helped us welcome it. For a moment, none of them spoke. Sometimes, gratitude didn't need long speeches. Sometimes, it fit inside the hand of a newborn child. Later that afternoon, the hospital auditorium filled with nurses, physicians, paramedics, and support staff. No one had been told exactly why they were there. Hospital Director Karen Whitfield stepped onto the stage. Most people think courage happens inside operating rooms or emergency departments. She smiled toward Monica. Sometimes. It happens beside a gas pump. Soft laughter filled the room. Today we're recognizing one of our own. Ms. Monica Hayes. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Monica looked genuinely embarrassed. She had spent her career trying not to be the center of attention. Helping people felt natural. Being celebrated never did. Karen handed her a simple glass plaque. It read, "For extraordinary compassion beyond duty, nothing more. Nothing less." Monica smiled. "Thank you." Before she could return to her seat, Karen spoke again. "There's one more person who asked to be here." Officer Ethan Brooks walked onto the stage. Still wearing his patrol uniform. But this time, he carried no notebook. No suspicion. Only humility. The room grew quiet. Ethan stood before the microphone. "The day I met Monica Hayes, I believed I was protecting the public." He paused. "The truth is, she protected it far better than I did." No one moved. No one whispered. Every person in the room listened. I saw a description. She saw a patient. I followed procedure. She followed compassion. He looked directly at Monica. When she warned me that someone needed help, I thought she was trying to escape my investigation. He lowered his eyes. She wasn't trying to save herself. She was trying to save someone else. A silence settled over the auditorium. Not uncomfortable. Respectful. Ethan continued. "I've apologized to Monica before. But I wanted to apologize where other officers could hear it." He looked toward several uniformed deputies seated together. "The badge gives us authority. It doesn't give us permission to stop listening. We're supposed to notice danger." That day, the person who noticed it first wasn't wearing a badge. She was wearing scrubs. The audience stood once again. Not for Ethan. For Monica. The weeks that followed quietly changed the police department. Body camera footage from the gas station became part of every new officer's field training. Not because it showed a perfect investigation. Because it showed an important mistake. Each training session ended with the same 3 words projected onto the classroom screen. Pause. Listen. Verify. Whenever new recruits asked Officer Brooks what lesson mattered most, his answer never changed. The most dangerous assumption isn't believing someone is guilty. It's believing you've already seen everything worth seeing. No one forgot those words. Because they had watched exactly what happened when one officer almost did. Life moved forward. Monica continued working nights. She still carried homemade lunches. Still kept a paperback novel inside her work bag. Still smiled before introducing herself to every frightened patient. Nothing about her kindness had changed. One crisp autumn evening, she stopped at the same gas station on her way to work. The cashier immediately recognized her. "Coffee's still free." Monica laughed. "You've got to stop saying that." He grinned. "My manager says heroes don't pay." She shook her head. "I'm not a hero." He smiled. "Maybe. But every mother who heard your story would probably disagree." As Monica walked back toward her car, she noticed someone helping an elderly woman lift a heavy gas nozzle. Officer Ethan Brooks. He patiently finished fueling her car before carrying her groceries to the passenger seat. The woman thanked him with a warm smile. He simply nodded. No cameras. No reporters. No audience. Just another opportunity to help. Monica watched for a second. Then quietly smiled. That, more than any speech, told her everything she needed to know. He hadn't just apologized. He had changed. She climbed into her sedan. Started the engine. And pulled back onto the Georgia highway as the sun slipped below the horizon. The gas station disappeared in her rearview mirror. 3 weeks earlier, it had been the place where strangers questioned her character. Now, it reminded her of something completely different. That compassion is never delayed by pride. That listening can save lives. And that the greatest measure of a person isn't whether they make mistakes. It's whether they choose to grow after making them. Officer Ethan Brooks stopped a young black nurse because she matched a description. Minutes later, she helped bring a frightened mother's baby safely into the world. She never asked for revenge. She never demanded recognition. She simply chose kindness over resentment. Because real heroes don't stop to ask who deserves help. They simply see someone in need, and step forward. And sometimes, the person the world mistakes for a suspect, becomes the reason another family gets to go home together. Top of form, bottom of form.